Hey, yo, what up? Welcome back. This is not a podcast. It's just my thoughts with Rob Markman. It's November 22nd, 2025. 1 year ago today, Kendrick Lamar released his GNX album, right? Nobody saw it coming. Nobody knew that it was dropping. And boom, November 22nd, 2024, we had GNX right there. Whole hip hop, all the music went crazy, right? So it's the 1 year anniversary, man. I listened to the album Thursday, Friday, and this morning, and it's actually never left my rotation. But gearing up for this, I said, man, let me just like sit with this very intentionally, right? And I, fired up the camera. I'm like, man, we got to talk about this today and let's have some fun. So the question for y'all is, and y'all can hit me in the comments, all right? Definitely, I want to hear from y'all. 1 year later, is Kendrick Lamar's GNX a hip hop classic? That's the question. That's what I want to know for y'all. Hit me in the comments. Also subscribe. Please subscribe. Let's get to 50,000. We so close. Please subscribe, like, put your alerts on, hype, share, do all of that, man. I can't do none of this without y'all support, and I appreciate y'all support. Now, for me, the answer is yes. I'm not going to give y'all this long-winded. We're going to talk about it, but I'm going to give you the answer up front. Yes, to me, GNX is a hip-hop classic. I'm not even saying that it took a year for me to come to this conclusion. I decided this a long time ago, but 1 year later is a good time to have the conversation. It's a fun conversation to have, right? So we all know the story, right? For context, after Kendrick and Drake's historic battle of 2024, hip hop waited. I mean, we theorized, we speculated what Kendrick would do next. We knew there was an album coming. We had that information. We knew there was a Kendrick album coming in 2025. We knew that, in 2024, we knew that he was due for an album, but we didn't know what, and we didn't know when. And that battle, that back and forth between them both took up all the attention in hip hop. And quite frankly, after Kendrick was crowned the winner, perfect time to drop an album, but we just didn't know what it was. Then one Friday morning, this is me personally, on the Friday morning, I got a text. It's dropping today. So remember, I fired up this channel. I started this channel. And I remember because I had a dentist appointment that day and my mouth was numb after that. Right. So I knew I had to make a video. I wanted to make a video. It wasn't even like, oh, I have to make a video. I wanted to make a video. I wanted to sit with the album and make a video, but I had to wait for the Novocaine to wear off. And maybe that kind of helped me a little bit because that forced me, hey, man, let me just sit and listen. And I listened to the album a couple of times before I fired up the camera. Which I like to do. We get rewarded for like being first, right? Like in the algorithm, but it's also like, damn, I want to know what I'm talking about. So waited for the Novocaine to wear off, and then I did the video. Dot was moving off of the post-battle energy for real, right? But he didn't include Not Like Us and Euphoria, right? And that was right off the bat. You noticed that. And that was a choice. The album was less of an all-out attack or an onslaught. And more of a where does Kendrick go for here? Where do we go for here? And there was obviously references to the battle, allusions to the battle. There was, chest beating, you know what I'm saying? For sure. Like I'm not saying that the album was completely divorced of it, but not including Not Like Us, not including Euphoria was a choice. And the album was less of like an all-out attack. It felt like, the dust settled and this was the soundtrack to that. For Dot, it seemed to me, this is just my interpretation, realizing his place in the game, maybe his new place in the game, because he's always been towards the top. We talked about the big three for years and years, been considered one of the top rappers of this generation. So he was always at the top of the game, and obviously he had the accolades to back that up for sure. But now after this battle, his new place in the game as like undisputed top dog. You know what I'm saying? Like it was a debate. People still, it's hip hop and we have the internet. People will always debate, but it really felt like solely earned the top spot, lives in the top spot, undisputed, even though you will surely find people who will debate it. Kendrick is the top guy. After that battle, Kendrick is the top guy. A song like Man in the Garden sums that up nicely, right? To the victors go the spoils. But still, there was something grounded about Dot, even in that song, right? Like, even though he raises his tone, even in the whispers, there was something grounded. I deserve it all because my intentions were pure. Even when you wasn't sure, even with every allure, how much temptation did you endure? Like, so even at the height, he tries to ground himself in something, right? And even with the album title and the cover, GNX is rooted in the childhood memory, right? It's an upgraded version of the 1987 Buick Regal that Kendrick's dad drove him home in when he was born and coming home from the hospital. And according to Kendrick, and I'm absolutely sure Kendrick doesn't remember this, but was told this, that his dad was bumping Big Daddy Kane on the way home from the hospital. You know what I'm saying? So it's a nice story. But even just the album, the concept of GNX being rooted in that 87 Buick Regal, you know what I'm saying? And then Kendrick reaching his height, obtaining that car or the premium version of that car and centering his album around it. You see what I'm saying? It still roots you in something, right? Like that came before the fame. It roots you in something real or real memory or whatever. So that's at least my take on it, right? Yeah. So with his continual elevation, he makes sure to ground himself in something. The album sound is another example, right, of grounding himself. Okay, the whole world is watching. That battle last year was the biggest pop culture moment, I believe. Definitely the biggest musical moment of any genre. There were, USA Today was covering it, and all these mainstream publications. My mom was asking me, "Yo, what's up with this? Like, what, Kendrick and Drake?" Like that was just the biggest musical moment, possibly the biggest pop culture thing of 2024. So now it's all eyes on Dot, and the album sound is another example. DJ Head recently said on Effective Immediately, and I think he said it before, but he was talking to GNX Views on Effective Immediately and said that after speaking to Dot, that Dot had told him that this album is where he wants to make everybody respect us. The us being West Coast, maybe LA specifically, is what I gather from that, which I'm pretty sure is what they're saying. That the album, he wants to make everybody respect us, respect the West Coast, respect LA. So the album sound of it is another thing that's rooted, right? Now you have this thing where Dot is the champ and the people's champ, and people are rooting for him, and he can go in and make this album that purposely appeals to everybody, right? And instead he rooted it in his city, in the culture of his city, and said, let me put this on display. You hear it in Squabble Up, you hear it in Hey Now, you hear it in Reincarnated, you hear it in Dodger Blue, you hear it in Peekaboo, you hear it in GNX. And it's a brilliant move. It's like, okay, well, while everybody is watching, let me show you where it all started from. Let me show you where it all came from. Let me show you the genesis of this. Let me show you the initial inspiration, the initial spark, the thing that fueled all of this. And then you see it in the futures, right? In the features, all the new West Coast artists featured on the album, LA artists, So now the album is a vehicle designed to lift the generation up, be it AZ Chike, Lefty Gunplay, Dodie Six, Wally the Sensei, Hitter J3, Pesos, a few others on the album. So, a big thing about the album when it dropped was all the new talent from LA that Dot shined the light on. Now, unfortunately, not all of these artists capitalized off of this look, at least not in a year's time. But they all had a shot. Lefty Gunplay right away, right out the gate, became very visible, became mobilized, dropped an album with Problem, very much showed his personality, did the press looks, like really popped out right after the feature on TV Off. But he also caught a few drug arrests, things that slowed him down. We'll see with Lefty. Story's still being written. You know what I'm saying? AZ Chike is gearing up to drop his album with Warner. He signed with Warner and he's dropping an album. He just dropped his new single, Hit a Nerve. He performed at one of the LA dates on the GNX tour. He was the only guest from the album, outside of SZA, of course, to perform on the GNX tour. And man, I like him, man. He seems very focused and ready and prepared, and I think that's a mentality that he has. That's also I think a testament to maybe the team that he keeps around him. But he seemed very prepared for the moment. Jumped into Joey Badass battle as well. There was the back and forth there, but didn't lean on one thing, right? Like he had been dropping singles throughout the year. He got him involved in a rap battle with no bullshit. They were just battling back and forth, and did the show, studied the game, and had been in the background working on his album, and the album is coming. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm very interested to see how that album sounds. And I'm rooting for him, man. I think dude is super talented and super smart, and might do the most with this opportunity. Dodie Six kind of crashed out. You know, there was a lot of personal shit he was going through as well. But he also talked down on the feature, said how it didn't change his life and it didn't really do nothing for him. He later apologized for that, said it was a blessing. It just seems like he's going through something. Again, like you could have the talent, you could have the look, but you also have to be prepared to capitalize off of it. And it seems like Dodie Six is going through some things that prevent him from fully capitalizing off of it. You got to be ready for the opportunity too. And part of it from Kendrick's, and this is me just theorizing, is like, hey, I gave you an opportunity. The rest is on you. It's not going to work out for everyone. And it's not going to work out right away for everyone either, right? Everybody has their own path. I know that from when I was at XXL. I used to do the freshman. And XXL still does it, and it still rings true to me. You put 10 artists on the cover, and then a year later, people be like, he didn't blow up. It didn't happen for him. It didn't. But sometimes it doesn't happen for somebody in a year's time. Like you can't quite put a timetable on it. You know, when we had Nipsey on the cover, like that was 2009, 2010. Rest in peace to Nipsey. You know, Nipsey steadily worked over the years, but he built his story. It took a lot of years to get to a victory lap. You know what I'm saying? Because he was building it, you know, his own way. Or even look, Freddie Gibbs was on the same cover. And the Freddie then and the Freddie now, you know what I'm saying? Grammy nominated Freddie Gibbs, it's just different. So it doesn't usually happen in the calendar year. You can't put that type of timetable on it. It's not magic, right? You still have to put in the work once you get the opportunity. Going back to the album, conceptually, So you know, talked about the sound rooted in West Coast hip hop, and it had hit records on it, but conceptually, then there was like the meat of the album or the heart of the album. You know, songs like Reincarnated, songs like Gloria, storytelling songs like Heart Part 6. Make sure that no matter the height the album reaches, right, the hits, the jams, the shit you can play, you know what I'm saying, in the club and the party. There are things that very much make it undeniable that Kendrick is an MC who makes sure to check all the boxes. So I'm going to give you a squabble up and you can move to that. I'm going to give you a TV off and people going to rock to that. I could give you a Luther that's going to make you feel something and be a big hit. But I could also give you a Reincarnated and tell you this story, or Gloria and kind of tell you this story the same way like Duckworth on Damn. Heart Part 6, you know, I'm gonna sacrifice, like I'm gonna sacrifice this hit or jam. Like this song wasn't designed to be a hit or a jam or a bop or an everything to everyone. It's designed to tell you a story. It's designed to teach you something. It's designed to inspire you, to feed your soul in other ways, if you want to receive it, right? Pac made sure to do a lot of that. Nas made sure to do a lot of that in his career. Jay, Big, Scarface, M, Ice Cube. Kendrick has done this throughout his career. Whoever you put on your GOAT list, right? That's not a definitive GOAT list. Whoever you put on your GOAT list gives us this. And so for me, the substance is all there. You had the hits, you had the joints. And he's still rapping on all the joints. You had the joints of Squabble Up. Lyrics is dope that make you want to move. You know what I'm saying? TV off. You know what I'm saying? Just the different flows or whatever. Very, very much get the party started, get the club jumping. Like you're not going to hear Gloria in the club. And that's okay. Like a lot of times too, we judge shit like, nobody want to hear that in the club. Nobody want to throw that on whip. And we forget when you're making a complete body of work, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm checking all the boxes. I'm giving you a whole experience. And with that, he did that on the album. So, you know, I think the substance is there on this album. The messaging is there. The lyricism is there. The production is there. It's memorable. The songs, to me, all make you feel something. It's a dope album to me. It's a classic to me. And Kendrick has several. Good Kid, Mad C is a classic. Spit Butterfly is a classic. to me. Damn is a classic to me. This is a classic to me. I'd stop short. I wouldn't call Mr. Morale a classic. I think Mr. Morale is a dope and very important album, and I think I I'm glad we got Mr. Morale. I think it falls short of classic. I don't think it checks all the boxes. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm talking about this one. But still a dope and phenomenal album. It's just it very much hits a chord. You know what I'm saying? And then you have to factor in how it was received as well, how it permeated the culture, right? So that goes back to that. I talked about the substance. Now there's the hits, the accolades, the tour, the Super Bowl, the things that brought it all together, the external stuff, right? And notice I talked about the substance first because for me, that's personally what's important. I got to like an album. I got to like the music. The accolades won't make me like it. You know what I'm saying? Like the music has to be sound first, and then the accolades come with it. To me, even without the accolades, GNX will be a classic to me. Just might be an underground classic, right? You know what I'm saying? If it doesn't have the Billboard and the multi-platinum and the RIAA and the Grammy Awards and all of that, still a classic, just might be an underground classic if it doesn't get those things. And that's what I always say by those things don't define us. We define it first. We say, hey, man, this is a classic. We determine if it's a classic first, and then all the other things follow. But when you put commercial wins on top of the music, it becomes crazy. It makes things like a phenomenon, right? So, for example, Luther spent 13 weeks, consecutive weeks at #1 on Billboard. Huge hit record. You know what I'm saying? The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200, right? Calculations on the album was that it was gold. Like by the second week that the album had enough streaming equivalents and whatever digital sales people had, because the vinyl wasn't ready yet, that it went gold the second week is what the calculations. I imagine it's way past platinum now, maybe double. I'm not sure. If somebody knows better, tell me. But I didn't find it on the RIAA site. They have a database that you could check. So I didn't find GNX on there, which just means that the label didn't apply for certification yet. In order to be officially certified by the RIAA, gold, platinum, double platinum, diamond, whatever, the label / artist team has to apply for certification. And then they do an audit of all your sales, your streams. They add it all up and make sure that everything is legit. And then you're awarded the certification. I didn't find GNX on the RIAA's website. And maybe I messed up again. If you know better, let me know. But all that means is that the artist just didn't apply for it yet. The label didn't apply. And a lot of artists just wait. Like, why apply for a platinum certification if I'm close to triple? You know, or why, apply for triple if I'm close to 5 times platinum? I'll just wait. It'll be another month and it'll be 5 times platinum. I'm just theorizing, right? So people just kind of wait for the dust to settle and it's a calm, and then it's like, all right, then I'll get my certification. Super Bowl performance was a huge hip hop moment this year, right? Arguably the biggest hip hop moment of the year was the Super Bowl performance. It was an incredible performance. And it comes off of the back of the battle and the release of GNX. I don't think he gets that Super Bowl slot unless there was confirmation. You know what I'm saying? It's like GNX is coming. Like they knew, like that was all part of it. I mean, you could even hear it in TV Off. He raps about New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? So it was part of the thing. I don't think the battle alone gets him the Super Bowl. I think it's the battle plus GNX makes him perfect for the Super Bowl. And he delivered. He absolutely delivered. All of those things came together incredibly, right? So the Super Bowl performance, huge moment in hip hop. The stadium tour with SZA, huge. I saw 2 shows. I went to the MetLife one, New Jersey, so the New York, New Jersey stop. And I went to the LA one. Incredible show. Now, at the upcoming Grammys, Kendrick has 9 nominations. The album has 2 nominations, one in Best Rap Album and one in Album of the Year. Luther has 3 nominations as a single. TV Off has 2 nominations. And then I think Kendrick has one for Chains and Whips on the Clips album. And 30 for 30 on SZA's Lana, which is not like GNX related. But GNX, he has 9 overall. But GNX related, he has 7. GNX related nominations. So that's to me, again, that's the gravy on top of already having a dope album. I think if he didn't have those accolades, he would still have a classic album. Might just be an underground classic. Who just, all right, yeah, it's a hip hop classic, it's an underground classic. Like, we recognize it as the culture, or at least I recognize it as someone in the culture, because it's just my opinion, just my thoughts, and mainstream doesn't, and that's cool. But this is one of those instances where I believe the culture recognizes it, and then mainstream recognizes it too. So those are just my thoughts. Let me know, man. You may disagree. I know there's a lot of people who will say, nah, it's not a classic, or people will have their reasoning. To me, this checks all the boxes. I can listen to this album straight through. Doesn't mean that some songs aren't better than others. But it's a ride, man. I can listen to it straight through. And I fuck with it. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a classic. Musically, then it created a moment. It defined a moment. It is something that marked the place in time. It is something that 10 years later we can all point back to. 15 years later we can all point back to. 20 years later, I think we'll still be talking about this album. Those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments. All right, hit me up. Till the next time. Peace.